Hello, welcome to another podcast of Red Lines and Half Spaces, episode 2. I am Yembele, Yamin Yamal. You know me very well, and I've got my partner in crime here, Joseph. Joseph, episode 2. This thing's starting to roll, isn't it?
We are flying. We are taking over the universe with this podcast, mate. Here we come.
Yes, we are.
Loud.
You people, all you people who've been listening, you're helping to contribute to us becoming a major force in the podcast world, and we thank you for it.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Exactly, Joseph. So, Joseph, the season. Obviously, we did our season review last time, and the season is over. We're coming upon, we're starting to come upon the Club World Cup. But football generally is at quite a standstill. Obviously we've got the transfer window, and we've got, we've had a transfer window, and now we're waiting before the next transfer window goes because obviously we need 2 transfer windows. How are you feeling about the downtime? All good?
Yeah, mate. It's actually, I think we might have touched on it last time, but it's been nice just to get away from it for a little while. The disappointment of the whole Champions League fiasco, just the Premier League, the injuries, the constant up and down nature of it. It's nice. We love it, but it's nice to have a little break from it every now and again. Just recharge the batteries. The players need it. We need it.
Yeah, but, I mean, I still don't get why those 2 England games happened as well.
Didn't even watch them. They're just a complete irrelevance in my life, mate. To be honest.
And now all the players have properly gone off now to have a rest, which they need.
Yes.
Obviously those who go to the Club World Cup will be playing there. I think that's crazy. They finish in mid-July, so good luck to them. I mean,
I know we don't want to go into this too much, Ian, but do you think that's going to have a big effect next season on those teams who are playing in that competition? Because I saw the squads, and it looks like a few of them have gone quite first team orientated, which I thought was quite surprising.
I think they have to, given the prize money on offer, the prestige. It is a FIFA tournament. I don't agree with it particularly because I think it's a glorified friendly tournament, given the names on there. But I think it will have an effect next season. How could it not? You're effectively going up till the mid-July period, and so where are the players going to rest? Like, even if you've got a big squad, you're not really resting, are you? You're training. You need downtime. You know better than I do, Joe. Players need to completely switch off, and they said I saw a medical article today that it should be a minimum of 28 days, which I don't think they're going to get this period, are they?
Doesn't sound like it, does it? Like you said, if you've gone on with that, how long this tournament's going on for? You're looking at the tournament. If you go into the latter stages of it, you're almost coming back straight into a pre-season. So you're almost not resting for 2 seasons.
No rest. There's no rest, and you'd expect Chelsea, Man City, Real Madrid, all of these guys to be at the front end of the sharp end of this competition. I doubt. I wouldn't expect some of the lesser teams to make it there. Let's be realistic. I still don't get the makeup of this tournament. I think it's just a bit shambolic.
Don't fancy Al Hilal for the title, no?
They didn't buy any striker, did they? They were going for every striker possible.
Yeah, they tried.
But let's focus on Arsenal, Joe. Last time, as I said, we did our season review. Now we're going to focus on the team, and we're going to look at each player, and that includes our loanees. So we'll do the loanees later on, but we're going to focus on the first team and those players who played this season. What we're going to do is to rate, give a little bit of insight as to the player's season, do our ratings, and then what I want from you, Joe, as well is: do we keep, do we buy, do we sell? Or, not keep, buy or sell. Keep, sell, or loan, or terminate.
Cool.
Okay, and we're going to go through that for each player individually. Sound good, Joe?
Sounds good to me, mate. Do you want to alternate it back and forth?
Yeah. Why don't we?
Yeah,
look, what we're going to do. I think we'll both do it anyway. I'm going to ask you first, and then I'll give a little one here. Cool. But we'll give our ratings, and then we'll see how we end up, if we're aligned or not, and then also at the end of
we're in sync.
Yeah, and at the end of this, and at the end, I want to ask for your top 3. So have a think about that one. I know I sprung it on you, but have a think about your top 3. Okay,
thanks for that.
Okay, let's start going through it. So I'm going to pull up the Arsenal squad, and we're going to start with obviously our goalkeepers. So David Raya, our first choice goalkeeper, and pretty much a mainstay in this season. Joined us just this season permanently, but was obviously here last season. Joe, how do you think his season went?
I'm going to give him an 8 Yem for his season. obviously won the Golden Gloves again. I think he really benefited this year from us getting rid of that whole Raya or Ramsdale debate. I think having him as the number one confirmed helped it. You didn't go into games thinking, "Oh, if he makes mistakes, is Ramsdale in for the next one," sort of thing.
But do you need that? Do you need that, Joe? I still think that there wasn't enough competition for Raya, and it kind of
does
it make it complacent?
I think you can have. I think we definitely needed more competition, but I think universally we can all agree that having two number ones, as Mikel called it, doesn't work. Because as soon as your goalkeeper makes a mistake, you're automatically thinking, right, is the other goalkeeper coming in for the next game? And everyone needs to have an element of, this is my place. Obviously, you can come under threat, but I think you still need to have that confidence that if you do make an error or have a bad game, it's not, right, you're out straight away. It's going to be, okay, let's atone for that error and we go from there. But no, I thought David Raya, potentially, for me, was in with a shout for Player of the Season.
He made some fantastic saves. I mean,
I was just about to say that, mate. I think so with his feet, since we've got him, even since he came on loan, it's been outstanding. But I think what he added this year was moments and big saves that people remember. I think maybe he lacked that last year. But this year, for me, I think you could rattle off 3, 4, 5 even big saves, big game-changing saves, like the penalties against Atlanta, the save from Watkins at Villa, the save at Old Trafford, and these ones just off the top of my head, there's probably more.
Yeah.
But I think he really added to his game this year with that, and I think that's what's propelled him to arguably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, if not certainly one of.
I think he's certainly one of them. I think, for me, David, I agree with you. I'd give him an 8. The only thing I would say, and I agree with all your points that you made, Joe, the only concern I have is that towards the end, and I think exhaustion probably took hold here, and tiredness, he started to make these mistakes, silly mistakes. Obviously, what happened against Real Madrid with Vinicius, that was a silly mistake again, whether it was Saliba or Raya. But there was just a few errors creeping in where he was misplacing passes and creating problems that we didn't need. So I agree with you. 8, I think he's been a fantastic buy for us. I think 30 million seems actually a pretty good buy considering what he's delivered. 2 Golden Gloves. I think he does need some kind of competition because we'll go onto our next goalkeeper in a second. But I just think someone needs to just push him a little bit to say, look, keep your A game, otherwise you will be dropped. There is no fear of that necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. I agree with you. Is he as good as Alisson and Ederson at their peak? Maybe not. I think there's still a presence around Alisson and Ederson at their peak. I'm going to say at their peak as well, because I think Ederson dropped off massively. But David Raya definitely is up there because you don't win 2 Golden Gloves, and not be a good goalkeeper. Okay, would you keep? Would you sell him? Would you terminate him? Would you loan him? Which one are you going to do?
I think this is probably going to be one of the easiest ones, but we're definitely keeping David Raya.
I agree with that. Keep him. Otherwise, what are we going to do next year?
What a start to the podcast if we're terminating David Raya's contract.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This one, I think, is an easy one as well. Norberto Neto came in on loan, deadline day. Oh, Joe, I'm going to give you the honour of describing his only appearance in Arsenal.
I'll be honest, I don't think I can even give him a rating because the one game where we actually needed him, he was cup-tied.
He was cup-tied throughout the whole thing.
So we had to play a 16-year-old. Then he came in for the Girona away, I think it was, when we decided to give Raya a rest. And he just sort of decided to try and save a shot when he was outside the penalty area. It was just one of my moments.
He thought he was a midfielder, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to him, he gave me one of my moments of the season with that. But yeah, for me, can you rate him? I don't know. What do you think?
A 1.
A 1?
Yeah. Again, the problem is when he had his chance, he bungled it in the worst way possible. A goalkeeper who doesn't realise they're outside their area, I think, is unforgivable, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with you. I mean, he's not going to be ripping up any
Right, so
trees.
here it is.
We're
He's
getting
on
rid of him
loan.
anyway.
He's
Let's cut the crap here. He's out.
Okay, so release back to Bournemouth. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. See you later. Bournemouth are going to need a goalkeeper anyway, so might need him back.
Right. Let's move on to the defender. I'm going to go with the easy ones first. So Kieran Tierney, obviously had an injury-blighted career with Arsenal, still made some good appearances, has now obviously gone to Celtic. How would you rate him? Because obviously he made a handful of appearances, mainly from the bench.
Yeah.
Started obviously the last game at Southampton, got a goal, but let's do a quick one. I mean, because there's nothing really that stand out apart from that moment, really, is there?
I think you've kind of nailed that, mate. I'll probably give Tierney a 6, I think. Like I said, nothing outstanding. Good servant to the club. Do you know what? I did enjoy his end to the season. I like that he was getting minutes. He offered us something different compared to our other fullbacks. And like that, I mean, he only had 2 Premier League starts, so yeah, 6. But very grateful for his service, and it was a nice end to the season for him, I think.
Yeah, again, I can't say enough about, thank you, Kieran Tierney, for your service. The video he put up on Twitter was beautiful. I was crying a little bit, at the end of it. But yeah, we wish him good luck. But obviously, this one's an easy one. He's already been released effectively, so that was decided for us already. Yeah. Let's move on to. I'm not going to put Tomiyasu in this because he hasn't played this season at all, so I can't put him in this.
Yeah.
The only question, and again, I can't ask you whether you keep by loan and sell because again, he hasn't played anything, and he won't play for another good couple of months. So there's no point in asking. Right, Alexander Zinchenko. Personally, I don't think he had enough appearances this season. I think he's more useful, but the problem is that I think we've moved on from him. When we bought him, he was a catalyst along with Jesus for the upsurge in our form. But I think the team has progressed on without him, and I think this season showed that when he really, he got a handful of appearances, mostly from the bench. Would you agree, Joe?
100%, mate. I think you've nailed it. Like you said, this squad and this team have outgrown him. When he came in, he was absolutely brilliant for us. But then we started to see a side of Zinchenko where for an hour he was good. And then for that sort of the last half hour of games, you'd start to worry because he would seem to be targeted quite regularly, I think. And a lot of goals that we seem to concede came from that side of the pitch. So, yeah, I mean, I would give him a 5 personally. I agree with you. He didn't get enough minutes. I think he could have been used more. Coming off the bench late in games, maybe that sort of thing. Don't think he did anything particularly wrong this season. Nothing springs to mind, but again, I don't really remember him making much of a contribution either. So 5 for me.
I agree with you. I think a 5. I think he's a very good player. There's no doubt. But I think he's a luxury player now, Joe. Don't you think? For me, he feels like a luxury player more than does he actively contribute to our team. Again, his defensive qualities are the problem, I think. No one doubts his on the ball work, but off the ball, I think he struggles, and I think that's why Mikel has not used him as much as.
Yeah. What did you make of? Obviously, we've there's been a bit of a debate about using him in midfield, which Arteta has always been very reluctant to do. But now it seems we're thinking of getting rid of him. But towards the end of the season, he got a few appearances in the midfield, which I thought was a bit strange.
I originally thought he would be useful in the midfield, but having seen him there, he's very bland, to be honest. There's nothing about him particularly. But maybe that's because he knows I'm not giving my all. I thought in games he really didn't give his all. Even when on the subs bench, he didn't give his all at all. Maybe it's that, but I don't see it with him in midfield. I kind of know, Arteta knows best. I'm convinced of that. And unfortunately, with Zinchenko, I don't see it in the midfield. I didn't see anything particularly amazing from him. So no, it's not for me personally. So let's ask the question then. Keep, sell, loan, or terminate?
I would very happily sell Zinchenko, I think.
I think his time's come, hasn't it? I think
Yeah,
we're looking to sell him. I think Milan are sniffing around, etc.
Mm.
I think as long as we can get a good deal, and again, he's still a good player, so you want to get a good deal for him.
hmm
So you'd hope we could sell him for
Yeah.
decent money. But I agree with you. 5, I think, is probably a right one. I'm going to go to our next. So Riccardo Calafiori. So Ricardo obviously came in the last window, in the summer window from Bologna, and has had a very stop-start season, I think. And unfortunately, injuries have got to him. When I've seen him on the pitch, I am so impressed every time I see him, because I think he's a chaos player, but there is something there. There's an aura around him that tells me that he could be a great player if he can get over the injuries. And it's the injuries that are the problem. That he's had a very bad injury period. I think all Arsenal fans know that. Whenever I've seen him, the goal against Man City, the way he moves across the pitch, the way he can pass a ball, his energy, his defensive ability, I think he's very good defensively. I think he just needs a run of games. So for me personally, I'm looking at, I'd say it's a 6 for me, possibly bordering on a 7. But I think it's just his injuries have got in the way of him. I think obviously his injuries led to Miles Lewis-Skelly becoming first choice. I think the plan was that he would become first choice. I just think the injuries got better of him. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm very similar to you, Yem. I'm in an R in around a 6-7. So I think 6 is probably about right. On the ball, like you said, he's outstanding. I think the chaos that he does bring is brilliant, because it just opens up so many different options for us when he's on the ball. Because I get the impression that sometimes he doesn't know what he's going to do. So if he himself doesn't know what he's going to do, how can an opposition prepare for him when he's on the ball? Defensively, he's good, but I think there is still room for improvement. I think he can make that improvement as well, but as you've already said, he needs consistent minutes, and I feel this year he didn't get that, like you said, because of the injuries. It was a bit stop-start, but when he did have a run of games, he did look very good. So yeah, had his moments, like you said, the goal against City, the goal against PSV, I think, away.
Yes, didn't he? That last where he went up front effectively, didn't he?
Just chaos. Just really I'm on the pitch. I'm better than all of you. I'm going to do what I want. And off he went and scored a goal. So
I love his aura. I love his aura.
Yeah.
I love his hair as well. His hair. He's literally got us a sponsorship deal on his own. That's the aura around the man.
It's about time we had a good-looking Italian on this Arsenal shirt. So, 6 for me, mate. Like I said, good season. A bit stop and start, but plenty to be looking forward to for the future with him. And he's a definite keep for me. Yeah.
I think so. Look, again, I think Mikel's done the right thing in restricting him at the end of season to try and prepare him for pre-season, get him through a good pre-season. Remember, he didn't play much of the pre-season either, because
that's a good point.
He came in late. I want a full pre-season for him. I want him to, have some durability and be at the best, because I think he's a fabulous asset when we can get him going. So looking forward to more from Ricardo. Next, Ben White. Again, another one who's had, unfortunately, a very blighted injury season. He's been a warrior. This is accumulation of injuries from past seasons. He's been playing with literally his leg falling off. How do you assess Ben White's season, Joe?
Hard to say, mate, isn't it, really? Because he's not... I did have a look. I think last year he played just over 4,000 minutes, I think. This year it was, I believe, around 1,500. So that's quite a drop-off. And like you said, I think a common theme we're going to come back to with quite a few players in these ratings is overuse, being played too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Ben White that we all know and love and that we saw last season was absolutely brilliant. We didn't see that this year from him. For me as well, even in games when he did play, he still didn't look fit.
I don't think he got towards fitness towards the end of the season, as in, that the Southampton game, he looked a little bit better. The Newcastle game, actually, he looked very good in the Newcastle game, I thought, in terms of...
with the amount of injuries he's had, Jem, as well. I would have liked to have seen him played at centre back a little bit, just because when obviously at fullback we demand a lot from our fullbacks.
Yeah.
Ben White has obviously played centre back; he can do that job, not a problem. I think, but when you're coming back from what seems like quite a severe injury because he's missed most of the season, I just think it might have been worth just giving him minutes at centre half. It's less taxing on the body, but it still gets you in the rhythm of the game, gets you used to playing, gets you plenty of touches on the ball because we use our centre back so much in our build up. So I would have liked to have seen him played a bit more at centre half in those games because I think we had options at left back, right back, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a little bit disappointing season, but hopefully this will stand him in good stead coming in next season, full pre-season, summer off. But for me, I don't think I can give him more than a 5, to be honest.
Yeah,
because
I have
we've
to
just
agree.
not seen enough of him.
I love Ben White. Ben White is such a shithouser. Sorry, I've completely ruined. We tried no profanity, and already I've done.
Halfway through episode 2, and we failed it.
But his antics, all of that. I love just his personality. He's so deadpan. He doesn't care about what other people think. But and we know he's a good player, and I think he's a very versatile player, as you said, Joe. I think he can play centre back, right back. I want to see more of it. I want him and Timber to rotate because we've got two really good right player, right centre back, right back players, etc. that could provide the options. But both have been called on so much, and we'll get into Jurrien Timber in a second. But I agree with you. A 5, I think, is reasonable. So we're going to ask the question: keep, sell, loan, or terminate. Which one are you looking at?
Yeah, keeping Ben White.
Keeping Ben. I think
Definitely.
I agree. I think he's too valuable, and I think more will come of him next season.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. A bit of an unsung hero here, Jakub Kiwior. Right, let's get into this one. Didn't play too much in the early part of the season. Come, what was it, February, March, Gabriel gets injured. Jakub Kiwior steps in. We're all panicking. But his end of season was phenomenal, I thought. I thought he had if you pocket Mbappe, that's a pretty good sign that you're
not a
pretty
bad name
right.
to have on your resume, is it?
Yeah, you're right. Look, people, I pocketed Mbappe. You need to raise my transfer fee by 25 million or so. But I think Jakub Kiwior had a really good end to the season. I think the more he got game minutes, he looked better and better. And look, I don't think he's our first choice centre back. By no means, I don't think so. But the talk about him at the start of the season, we got to get rid of him and all that. I think he shut a few people up, and I think he had a really good second half of the season where he didn't look out of place in the big games, the PSGs, the Real Madrids. He didn't look out of place at all. I mean, Joe, what's your thoughts?
Same as you, Yem. I was really impressed with Kiwior, to be honest. When we lost Gabriel against Fulham, it was the game before Real Madrid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we all feared the worst. I think straight away we all thought, right, we're coming up against 3 of the best attacking players in world football, and we now don't have Gabriel. But in fairness to him, Kiwior came in, and except for an early loose pass in the first leg at the Emirates, for the rest of that game, for the 180 minutes, he was absolutely brilliant. And considering, like you said, he hasn't had many minutes, he's not been a regular starter. I mean, you just have to take your hats off to him. I think he was used a bit sort of weirdly at left back last year, and he looked okay. He looked okay for a couple of the games, but then he got found out fairly quickly. He's never really had a run of games, which, considering how long he's been here, is quite surprising.
His first proper run, wasn't it? His first proper run was this one, wasn't it?
But yeah, it just shows you, mate, if give these players minutes back to back, give them consistent game time, you can get a tune out of them. So yeah, I mean, defensively, I don't think we really missed. I mean, obviously we missed Gabriel, but nowhere near to the level that I think we were worried that we would do. In the other box, I think, is where we missed Gabriel more, with him being injured. But for me, I would have to give Kiwior considering what I would have expected of him and how he performed, I'm going to have to give him an 8, mate, because I think he had a really, really strong end to the season.
I really agree. I agree with you. I think I'm judging on his second half because we didn't see him enough in the first half. But what I did see, I think an 8. I think he showed he's a good player. He's, he really, really did well in the second half of the season where we didn't even talk about him as a liability. So now this is a hard question because for me, this one is a bit more of a thinker. Do you keep? Do you sell? Do you loan him or do you terminate him?
This is a difficult one because seeing how he ended the season was brilliant, and you want brilliant players in your squad. However, is his value ever going to be higher than it currently is?
This is my point as well. Are we going to? Is this the time to bank it and say, look, he's not a starter. He's been a great player. He's been a good player, and the second half of the season showed that. But we have to have some sales at some point. We can't just rely on.
Yeah, I think do you know what? I think if we get a good enough offer.
What's a good enough offer then? What's a good enough offer?
Not an Arsenal 20 million.
Not an Edu special.
If we get, I don't know, are you looking at minimum 30 maybe?
I'd say even 40. Considering that Joe Quansah is being touted as 40 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, 40 is that? Yeah. If we was to get, let's just say if we got a minimum of 40, I'm more than happy to sell.
Yeah, I think the right price we sell him because.
Yeah.
Look, you have to look. As Joe said, I think he's. I don't think he's going to get any better than what he has this season. I think Gabriel is still your first choice when he comes back. There's no doubt of that. And we have to make some sales somewhere. We are still a club that is self-reliant. We don't have Arab owners or rich backers. I think this is a sell, very begrudgingly a sell for me, Joe.
Yeah, I think, like I said, as long as we get a reasonable offer, I'd be selling. If we're being offered the stupid money we normally get offered and normally accept, then for me, you'd keep. But if we get a reasonable offer, then yeah, I would be willing to sell.
Okay. Let's move on. Jurrien Timber came in from Ajax, had a terrible first season where he was taken out by an ACL injury. Came back this season, has been a warrior, an absolute warrior. I can't think of a game where he's been less than a 7 for me, because I think he's like Lauren almost. He's so consistent. He's so on it all the time. He's probably the best one-on-one wide defender I can think of in the league. As in, I'm very comfortable with him going up against any winger. I don't think he's been beaten too much. I think the first time was Kvaratskhelia. Kvaratskhelia was probably the first player I saw him getting flustered. But we already knew at that point he was dealing with an injury. Look what's happened. His season, he had to be taken out end of season because he was injured. So again, ACL injury, coming back, playing the majority of the games because Ben White was injured. If he was at his full potential, I'm kind of scared about what he could be, because he's been playing pretty much, for I think about a third of the season injured. I mean, what's your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, again, mate, I think you've hit all the points there. After that ACL injury, I think the plan for him this year in an ideal world, like we mentioned when we spoke about Ben White, was rotation. Get him in, have 2, 3, 4 games, get him out. Ben White can have 2, 3, 4, 5 games, whatever it is. Just rotate them. Just manage the load of both, because Ben White played a stupid amount of minutes and Timber's come back off an ACL injury. So in an ideal world, minutes would have been managed and it would have been a bit more rotated. But for him to perform at the level he did, considering that ACL injury, it's mind-blowing, really, what he was able to do and how consistent he's been this season, not only in performances, but in availability. I mean, he went off in a few games with knocks, but he never seemed to really be out for a prolonged spell. It'd be a few games and he's back and he's at that level again.
Yeah. I think his level is so consistent. He doesn't drop off really, does he? In terms of
this is the thing. You can't. That level for him to just out of the team for a few games, back to that level. There was never like any sort of warm up. There was no right off the bench, give him a few. He just in and at that level again.
Yeah. So
same as you, mate.
I love his aggressive nature. I love that he's in it straight away. He's always at you. He knows how to reach over and grab the ball. I just love his his aggression, the way he moves, everything about him. He's an elegant player. He can pass the ball really well, as well. But just so consistent.
Yeah, the 1v1 defending, like you said, he is one of the best in the world, I think. Even PSG, he struggled for the first sort of 20 minutes or so, but then for the rest of that game and the second leg, he wasn't really troubled because you can just see how quickly he's able to identify what he needs to do to stop these players.
Yeah.
I don't think he was really troubled in the second leg for me. I thought he had a really good game.
I think he's such a clever defender. Do you know what? No one appreciates how clever he is because it's not his speed. He's got good speed, but he's not like mind-blowing speed, is he?
No, he's not rapid, is he?
He's just clever in how he positions himself and managing to get the ball in, when he's defending. He's so good at showing people the line, bringing them inside. He knows, he studies his opponent. I'm pretty sure he studies his opponent. He seems like a thoughtful person in terms of how he thinks. So for me, I'm going to go first. I'm going to give him my rating as a 9.
And big boy rating.
No, but the reason why is his availability, just what he's given after an ACL injury season. I think he's been Mr. Consistent in this season, and I've loved what he's done. I think if he was at full strength, I think it could have been quite scary because I think that's what I want to see from both Ben White and Timber next season is them at full tilt, rotate, as you said, but they could be a scary, pair effectively of right backs.
Yeah, I was on a similar wavelength. I've only got an 8. Reason I've gone with an 8 is I just think next year I would like to see him offer more going forwards. So I think that just allows him a bit more room for improvement there. But defensively, can't knock him, was sensational. And hopefully, with a bit of rest over the summer, he'll be able to offer a bit more going forward. Because I feel like with that injury that we know about towards the end of the season, that would just prevent him getting forward, overlapping, getting because you need to worry about getting back. So, 8 for me. Just like I said, a bit more going forward, and then we'll be 9s and 10s, I'm sure.
Okay, moving on. Miles Lewis Skelly. Oof.
I'll start with this one.
God,
10. If you can't give Miles Lewis Skelly a 10, then I don't know what you get a 10 for. He's come in 18 years old and it's just been sensational. Can you tell me a game where you thought, he looks a bit ropey today? But I cannot think of a single game or even a moment where I was worried about him. And to be 18, coming into a team that's challenging for a Premier League title, challenging for the Champions League.
Big games.
And to come in and hold down a first team spot and perform consistently every 3 days, he's been unbelievable, mate. And I don't think you can praise him enough because he has been absolutely outstanding for me. So it's a 10.
Yeah, I'm 10 means that is my player of the season, and I'll come to my players. I'm going to go 9.5. I think he's had an outstanding season. As you said, he's come in and absolutely blown everyone away with his defending, his passing range, his driving from midfield. That the game against City, I think, was just the making of him. He did everything, defended well. Drove for that goal. That goal against City was just epitomised him. He drove through them, and that's not an easy feat. I think he's had an outstanding season. It's been capped off by starting for becoming an England starter, isn't it? He's pretty much a starter now for Thomas Tuchel.
How can he get his rating any higher? Yet? This is why I've gone 10.
I'm interested though to see what Mikel does with him. If he keeps him in the left back spot, or does he go to midfield? Because I am one of these people who sees him in midfield. I think he's just got too much ability to just stay at left back. But it's a hard one because he's done so well there, and he does work well in the the inverted part. I think the one thing I would say is and it's because he's young. He has been a bit rash at points. He had 2 sendings off. One obviously was rescinded, but the West Ham one was pretty justified in terms of that.
Yeah, let me just quantify. So my 10, I've given based on what I would have expected of him coming in. So being that age, and then what we got is why I've gone for. He's not going to. I'll tell you now, he's not my player of the season. But I think because of what I would have sort of expected him to do when he came in, how much he's surpassed that. That's why he's a 10 for me.
Fair enough.
And I think the biggest thing you can say about him, Yem, is when you look back on the season, you think, when were his best performances? What games did he play his best in? It was the biggest games.
Yeah.
It was the game against City. It was the game against Madrid. It was the game against Spurs. He's not come in and looked fantastic against the relegated teams.
Yeah.
He's come in and looked at his best when we've played the biggest games.
He feels like he's going to be a big game player in terms of he's going to show his best. He's not going to down tools for the lesser teams. We're not saying that, but he just feels like he will show his best, like a Declan Rice does in the big games, to show why he's one of the best. So this is an easy one.
We sending him on loan next season then? Or?
Yeah, we're going to say no. It's a keep for me. It's a keep for me.
Yeah.
He has to be
easy keep.
Easy keep. Gabriel Magalhaes. For me, I'm not going to. I'll come to my top 3 in a bit, but he's right up there. And the reason is that it was shown when he got injured. I mean, Kiwior, we said, did really well, but William Saliba struggled a little bit more when Gabriel was out. Gabriel is an absolute warrior. Not only does he score great goals from headers, he just seems to be a magnet to the ball. He is such a good defender, considering his growth from when we bought him as a young defender who kept getting sent off, making rash challenges, to now being probably one of the best left-sided defenders in the world, I think. If you look at the FIFA stats, him and Saliba are in the top 5. That's crazy. If you consider that I think the top one is Bastoni, they've listed, Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel Saliba, and then Marquinhos. That is unreal, considering that Gabriel cost 30 million and was an unknown defender. I mean, Joe, for me, he's a 10. I'm going to put him as a 10. I just think he's been outstanding.
Yeah. I've got 9, but I wouldn't be against giving him a 10, Yem. For me, the only reason I've gone 9 is because, unfortunately, he got injured towards the end of the season and obviously missed quite a chunk. But yeah, like you said, goal threat, defensively, he's just a monster for us. For me, he was absolutely our best defender this year. Like you, I'm fairly happy to say that he will be one of my top 3 because he's been magnificent. He's been an absolute monster. The improvement, he's gone from, like you said, making those rash challenges, rash decisions, to now being arguably our best defender when we have William Saliba as well.
Yeah.
It just speaks volumes about him. And for me, I love him. I love his song. I love the way he plays. He's just, absolutely outstanding. Wouldn't sell him for all the money in the world.
Well, he's just signed a new 3-year deal, hasn't he? So I think we know what the club is going to do, really.
Amazing. Well deserved as well. I think I have to say that. If any player in this squad has earned a new contract and a big pay rise, I think he would be number 1 on that list because, like we said, the improvement from him's been outstanding. And he now, for me, he's just arguably one of our most important players in the squad, which a few years ago, I don't think anyone would have thought he'd go to that level. So, outstanding season.
Can't wait for him to be back. I think we just miss him so much. Offensively as well, in the box, he's just a magnet. It's crazy how many goals he got this season.
I think he did like a Brazilian podcast thing, I think I saw the other day, and said he should be back and ready to go for pre-season, so that's good news.
That's good news. Look, I want our pre-season, I just want a calm pre-season. I want players back. I don't want any surprises. Just get it going.
Might need to support another club if you want that, Yen, but...
I know, but I can dream, my friend, can't I? I can dream. The last defender, William Saliba. I've left this in because he's probably the one who's lasted the longest through the season. I mean, he only got injured towards the end, but it is another hamstring injury, which is a bit of a shame. For me, William Saliba is still one of the best defenders I've seen. And it's crazy how young he is still and what he's doing. I am I've very rarely seen him this season be flustered. I think he's had a few bozo moments, but I think again tiredness, and I think he's played a lot of games. He's played more games than he's ever played, and I think he's had a full season pretty much, hasn't he? I think he's played most of the majority of the games this season, apart from the hamstring.
I'm pretty sure he's got, or I don't know if it finished this way, but I'm pretty sure he was leading in terms of minutes played for us up until his injury. I don't know whether that changed when he got injured with the injury, but yeah, and another player, mate, who I think was overused, overplayed, almost run into the ground, I think, because I think he literally played nearly every game. I don't really remember him ever coming out of the team, whatever competition it was.
I can't think, because right centre-back is a problem, isn't it, for us at the moment?
This is why I thought Ben White could maybe get a few minutes there, but maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I think, like you said, there was a few moments that I don't really associate with William Saliba in terms of a few errors, like you so eloquently put, a few bozo moments. I think that's exactly what they were. But he still had a very good season. But again, just because of how good we know he can be, for me, I gave him a 7. I don't think he was outstanding, but it was still a good season.
I give him a 7.5. I think he's still him and Gabriel undoubtedly are the first choice. I think he has had a bit of a dip this season, and that's not necessarily all due to him. I think the overuse does play a part with it.
Yeah.
I think he needs a good rest. I think a lot of players this coming period, down tools, absolutely do not do anything, and then come back to preseason and give it your all. That's what I'm looking at. I want to hear nothing about, oh, we've been doing this and all this. So we all know what William Saliba is. Now, here is the interesting question. William Saliba's contract is currently being negotiated. His contract is due at the end of 2027, I believe. We already know Real Madrid are sniffing around him, as they usually do, because they can smell a free transfer coming up. Do you keep, sell? I'm going to put it as those two options because the other two are not really options at all for him.
I think as a fan, we'd all want to keep him. I think that goes without saying. But from a club perspective, if they are getting an inkling that he is willing to entertain or wants a move to Madrid, then I think there needs to be a conversation had about a sale. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes at that level. We don't know what the current status of that is. But just from a very simple perspective, from what we know and what we know about William Saliba, he's a keep all day long.
I agree. I think if he doesn't, he's obviously negotiating a new deal. If he doesn't sign the new deal, I think we have to sell sooner rather than later to maximise the value.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want him desperately to sign a new deal. I think we're on the cusp, and I'll say this throughout this every time. We're on the cusp of winning something. I can feel it. We're too good a squad to. If we win nothing in the next 2 years, then I think the project is a bust. But we're so close. It's absolutely, it's tangible to me. I can feel it. And we have to keep William Saliba. There is no doubt in my mind we have to keep him. If we can't, and he doesn't want to, if we know he loves the club, but I think we have to show him that we're serious in that we want to challenge for the Premier League, and that's with signings and all. That's up to Berta and Arteta and the board. But if we can't, then we do have to. We can't lose money on him. We can't.
Yeah, unfortunately we're not a club who can match wages the likes of a City, a Real Madrid, a Bayern Munich. I think in terms of wages, they can go beyond what our budget would be. So the only other way you're going to keep him if you can't match that money is by winning things. So we need to win some trophies, and I think then that negotiation to keep him becomes a little bit easier. But
I think we'll know sooner. I think we'll know sooner rather than later. I think by the end of the summer, if he hasn't, then I think there is going to be a start of negotiations. Either he'll talk to Madrid, because that's what they do. Look, Trent Alexander-Arnold has just moved to Real Madrid and is speaking perfect Spanish. I doubt that was in the last year because it takes at least a year.
Might be a quick learner.
Yeah, of course, of course. But yeah, he's an absolute keep if he signs a new deal. But otherwise, we do have to have the conversation about him. Okay.
Yep.
Let's move on. Let's go to the midfield because obviously we spent a bit of time with the defenders because we've got a few defenders. But now, this should
got a handful of defenders, haven't we?
We've got quite a few. Arteta loves a defender. Right, going to midfield, Jorginho. Jorginho, for me, good professional, amazing professional. I think he's had a very average season to me. He hasn't played too much. He's 33 now. Gone off to Botafogo is it Botafogo he's gone to? Where's he gone to?
Flamengo, was it?
Flamengo. He's gone to Flamengo. That's correct. Thank you, Joe, for correcting me. Gone to Flamengo. Wish him all the best. I think he's a good personality for the squad, but I don't think he had anything special this season. Do you, Joe?
No, I've not been a massive fan of Jorginho, to be honest. I know he has his uses, but he's not a player that I ever really got on board with. Again, probably could have been used a bit more in terms of rotation, giving Partey and Rice less minutes. I think he only had about 15 appearances in the end. But yeah, 5 for me. Nothing really much to get excited about with him. But again, didn't really do too much wrong.
I went to a 4 actually, just because there was nothing there. He's a good personality, but again, we kind of knew his days were numbered. Effectively, he seems like a really, really good member of the squad.
Yeah, good pro, probably helped with the younger players, which obviously you need that in your squad. But in terms of what he done for us on the pitch, very minimal. So I think we're about in the same ballpark in terms of ratings.
I'm going to watch the Flamengo games just to see how he's doing. I like him as a player. He just seems like a nice guy. Right, moving on. Mikel Merino joined last summer. Got injured in the first training session. So was out for about 2 months. Came back. Is listed as a midfielder, but really his best moments came up front. Would you agree, Joe?
Yeah, so I've split my ratings here, yeah. We're gonna
you're getting technical on this there.
So whilst in midfield I've given him a 6.
Okay.
But playing as a centre forward, I've given him an 8.
Ooh.
So we'll go around a 7, I think, for his season.
Interesting.
That from that Leicester away game onwards, he was just brilliant for us. And I mean, I think he got in the Premier League, I think he got about 7 goals and 2 assists in that back end of the season, which if we'd signed someone in January and done that, we'd be going, wow, we got a player here. Can't wait to see what he does next season. But no, I think big credit deserved for Merino. Obviously, centre forward's not his position. We know that. But the job he did up there was fantastic. The way he was able to link play, scored goals. Obviously not as mobile as Havertz, but I mean, he still put in a good shift when it came to pressing, which I think he got more and more comfortable with, I think, towards the end of the season.
Where I was really impressed with him was the Madrid game at the Emirates and then at the Bernabeu as well, because I just thought he was unbelievable in both games in terms of leasing us.
Game intelligence, mate, is a big factor, I think, in what he has. He seems to, when he was doing that role, he might not have had the sort of the centre-forward striker's instinct, if you like, but he's an intelligent player, so he knew how to get or bring others into the game around him, was able to, I mean, I think at Sociedad he was known as a bit of a box-to-box goal-scoring midfielder, if you like, coming late. So he's got that element to him where he knows to be in the right sort of areas. But no, I was really impressed with him, mate, and I think he, like I said, in terms of centre-forward, the job he did for us, he deserves all the credit in the world, because I dread to think where we'd have been without him, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying come the end of the season.
I'm going to split it as well, just because you've done that as well. I go with 7 and 8 as well. Actually, I'm going to go with 6 and 8. 6 as a midfielder, 8 as a striker. In midfield, I think he looks slightly clumsy. I think the pace of the Premier League is maybe a little bit too quick for him, especially in midfield. I think he gets caught out and he's got a heavy touch.
Yeah, do you think that improved him? Because I think when he first played that position, I'd agree. But I think towards the end of the season, when he played in there, I think there's a couple of games where he actually looked quite good in there.
He looks better, but I still don't think he's the answer in the midfield. I think he's
good
more
option to have.
No, he's a great option to have because he's physical. He can do things that none of our other midfielders can do. Crash the box really well.
Yeah,
his headers as well. He's a very good presence in the box. I think for me next season he's a very useful player. I think he's a very good rotation option. I think he'll get a lot of games. I think he adds to the depth. You know what? You called it right before. He's a floor raiser in terms of he raises the floor of the squad. He doesn't raise the ceiling, but the quality is better in terms of our reserve and options. So for me, I would keep him. I don't think there's a need to sell. I don't think unless a spectacular offer came in, but I think he'll have a better season next season as well with a full preseason underneath him.
I'm in agreement, mate. 100%.
Okay, this one, I don't know how I'm going to phrase this really well without causing issues. Thomas Partey.
Would you like me to start whilst you get your words together?
I'm gonna.
So let's just concentrate on pitch performances. For me, good availability, which is something we haven't been able to say for previous seasons. I think he was good. I think he had a good season. Frustrating because I think if we had the Thomas Partey availability that we've had this year in previous years, we would have a Premier League title. But
has dropped off, hasn't he? He has dropped off.
Has dropped off, and next year, to be honest, I think he should probably take the Jorginho spot of this year of being that backup player to come in.
Stay? Do you think he should stay?
If we're not going to get money for him, which
his contract's up. So,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's a free effectively, he's not on the squad at the moment. He's been released at the moment.
Oh, excellent. Okay, right. So this is a tricky one. So the player, I think, if he's willing to accept a wage drop and a new squad role, this is ignoring all the other noise that is out there, then I would keep him, but put him into that Jorginho role, because I think you spend less by keeping him and giving him a wage rather than buying a new player in to fill that role. Obviously, the noise that's out there, if it is true, we don't know, but obviously there are certain rumours around of what he gets up to in his private life. If that is true, then I would immediately like him out of the club. But again, without knowing that situation, I can only go by I'm just going by purely on the pitch, and I would put him in the Jorginho role if he's willing to take a wage drop and perform in that role for us.
What would you rate him out in the season then?
6 or 7. I'll give him a 7, just for good availability and being a mainstay of the squad, which is mind-boggling.
I'd give him a 6.5. The reason is that I think Thomas Partey this season has been caught out a few too many times for my liking in the transition. And he's slow. He can't recover. His pace is gone. His recovery pace is gone. And he struggles.
Do you think he ever had recovery pace?
He had recovery, but he was better before. But this time he's losing. There's clearly a drop in his. He's an option. He was. I think we looked better, and that's because we didn't have the quality in our midfield. With him and Declan Rice, we looked more solid. But that wasn't like a massive exponential growth in terms of Thomas Partey. Without Thomas Partey, we can't compete. I agree with you. I think the problem is have we got an option that is within our budget for a replacement? Because we're not going to spend a huge amount. But I can't ignore the extras that hang over him. For me, I would release him. I think there's a ticking time bomb here that I just don't want to have at the club. I think his wages, if he wants full what he's on now, sorry, there's no way we can give that. I think you have to cut your cloth accordingly and say, look, thank you very much for everything, but you're not a first choice starter. He won't be a first choice starter next year. I can't see it.
No. I'm in agreement with that, mate. Yeah, like I said, if he's willing to take a wage drop and be a squad player in just sort of a performance related analysis of this, then I'd be willing to keep him just to fulfill that Jorginho role. But like you said, with his extracurricular activities, maybe it's best that we move away from him.
Yep.
But shall we move on to the next player to avoid getting into any more trouble?
Yeah, let's do that. Martin Odegaard, captain.
I'll let you go first.
Has had an injury. I think the injury has blighted his season. I don't think he's been. I think we can all attest to he has not been at his best this season, and unfortunately, that has affected the team. I think it affected our season particularly because he's such a vital piece. He is a fabulous player. We can all see that, but the injury has hampered him, and I think he was rushed back. To be perfectly honest, I would give him a 6.5. I don't think he's influenced many games, to be honest. He struggled. Towards the end of the season, he looked better, I will say. Against Southampton, got the goal, and he looked much, much better. I think the likely arrival of Martin Zubimendi, I hope, will platform him better because he needs more platforming. I think he worked best when Granit Xhaka was around because I think he wasn't coming as deep as much.
Mm.
And we know he's a fabulous player. There is no doubt of that. I think everyone, absolutely hammering him, saying, "Oh, he's a terrible player" and all that. No, absolutely not. He's top quality. I think players go through blips. A lot of players goes through blips. I'm certainly keeping him here. There's no doubt of it. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. So for me, I went through towards the end of the season. I was very much in the thing of being very critical towards Martin Odegaard for his level of performance. But then once the season was over, I kind of sat back and had a look at it, and I thought, what number 10, sort of across the board, if you like, coming back off that injury, there was obviously quite a severe injury, which we, like you said, clearly rushed him back from. So he's rushed back from injury. He'd lost Saka, who obviously
and Ben White as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say he'd lost Saka, who he's linked up with. Lost Ben White, who's a massive part of that sort of right-hand side triangle that we have. Didn't have a centre forward to play with, really. I mean, Havertz is fulfilling that role, but he's not a centre forward, is he? I know he's done well for us, but he's not. So you've got number 10 who's come back off a serious injury, has lost two-thirds of the right-hand side triangle that he's used to playing with and doesn't have a striker. What number 10, given that, is going to be able to put up high numbers?
No, I agree with you. I think he looks like he's struggled a lot in games physically. He's been bounced off the ball a lot more than he's used than we've seen him. I think the injury definitely has played a part. I think it was such a bad injury, and we rushed him back because we needed him. And I think, again, another one who needs a preseason just to down tools, get ready, and then come back strong because he's a fabulous player. He is absolutely
I don't think he made it to double figures for goals or assists, which for me, from a number 10 of Martin Odegaard's quality, I'd expect at least one of those G's and A's to be in the double figures, which unfortunately it wasn't. I think there were mitigating circumstances. I agree he did not perform well enough this season.
And he'll admit it as well. He'll admit it, won't he?
He'll be his harshest critic, I'm sure. What I don't want to see next year is Martin Odegaard picking the ball up from right back. I do not want to see him there because he's not going to affect the game there. So, yeah, like you said, rest over the summer, get back in pre-season, have a good pre-season, and hopefully he'll be firing again next year with a fully fit Ben White and Bukayo Saka, both ready to go as well. But yeah, I'm a 6 for Martin Odegaard for me.
Okay, interesting. Okay, moving on. Declan Rice.
I'd say a season of 2 halves for Declan Rice for me.
Absolutely, and I agree with you.
First half, I think he almost didn't look fit. It was like
he had a number of injuries as well, tired and a toe injury, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, just that first half of the season, he just very underwhelming, shall we say. But second half of the season, just launched himself into the player of the season conversation for Arsenal. Brilliant in the big games, drove from midfield, scored goals, big goals as well, important goals.
I mean, he won us games, didn't he, on his own?
Yeah, mate. He really stepped up. Then that second half of the season went back to the Declan Rice. We got him half price. He was brilliant that second half of the season. So I would give Declan an 8, I think, for the season he had. I like him in that 8 position. I think he offers more there than in the 6. I think he's a bit handcuffed when we play him in that sitting role.
He's got too much ability, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly that. You've nailed it, mate. He's got too much ability. The driving runs and the way he's able to drag players out of position by making them runs is wasted I think if you put him in the
ball
6.
striker, he's such a good ball striker as well. No one appreciates that. And obviously, we know now that he can take free kicks because we're talking. His highlight obviously has to be the 2 goals against Real Madrid. Absolute worldies. But he's such a clean ball striker. The goals he scored are not like bundled goals, are they?
No, they're very. Even the winner against Newcastle, even that outstanding goal. So yeah, if we can give him a season in that 8 position, if we can put in a Zubimendi or someone like that, other midfield options are available.
Yeah, where he's not coming as deep again, where he doesn't have to come deep again so much all the time to retrieve the ball, and because he gets tired, he got really tired towards the end. He was dead in some of the games, but I would give him actually I'm going to go with a 9, purely because the second half of the season he was pretty much the vital piece. Without him, I think we would have really struggled with the injuries to Ødegaard, Saka. I think he came up big, and and that Real Madrid game, wow! We were the better team against Real, but he got us the goals that
looked every bit £100 million player, didn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean we're talking. Obviously we're talking about Florian Wirtz, and is he going to justify the £100 million player? If you look at players like Enzo Hernandez, Moses Caicedo, I think Caicedo is probably bordering on justifying it. Enzo Hernandez has definitely not. Fernandez has not justified that yet for me. Declan Rice, pretty much first season did it, but he's looked even more valuable this season.
Yeah, he was sensational, mate. That second half of the season.
I think again, if you can platform him correctly, give him a full rest, which again this summer is so important because it's the first summer without an international a major tournament for all of us, and we just need that rest just to come back stronger. It's what Liverpool got last season. They'll get it again this season, and we'll get it now. As we talked about at the start of the pod, obviously with Chelsea and Man City going off, they won't have as much time, and rest is highly important. We've seen it. A proper rest can make all the difference. I think City and Chelsea will start stronger, but it's about the marathon sprint. It's about the marathon. It's not a sprint, and that's where it's going to come into it.
So are you keeping or selling Declan Rice?
Keep him. Free kicks must be on the free kicks. First person on the free kicks. Ødegaard, look, I love Ødegaard, but do not let him take a free kick. Hitting the wall like every time. Come on, mate. Declan worldies into the top bins and round the keeper. It's obvious. No, definitely keep. Right, moving on to the forward line. I'm going to try and rattle through some of these quickly because unfortunately, some of them are terrible. Raheem Sterling. Oh, Jesus.
I'm 0. No more to say.
He scored a goal in the Carabao.
It's a 0. Let's just
give him a 1 at least. He tried.
No, he's a 0 for me. There is absolutely nothing I can look back on during that Raheem Sterling loan.
He scored a goal.
Who did he score against, Jem?
Preston.
What was the score at the time? And what was the score at the time of his goal?
About 3-0, wasn't it, or something? Like that?
It's from what I expected of Raheem Sterling and what we got, it's a 0. He, in every game he played, he looked like he'd won a competition to be there for me. He just did not look at the level to play Premier League football.
Do you think he's lost the physicality of the Premier League?
Yes, mate. Essentially, I know he's not an old player, but he's been playing top-level Premier League football since 17. That's going to catch up with you. And
we're seeing it with quite a few players, aren't we? Leroy Sané's obviously gone to Galatasaray, and he's lost that yard of pace. Wingers are starting to lose. This is my worry for Bukayo Saka. With all these injuries and overplaying, they're losing.
Well, it's definitely something to bear in mind, mate, because you look at the drop-off of Sterling, and it was alarming. I think it's a fair.
He couldn't take on players at all, could he? I don't think he beat a man, did he?
If anyone out there can tell us a moment of brilliance from even just a moment of something in that season, then do go ahead. But no, unfortunately, I'm not
a 0.
I cannot be swayed with this. He gets a 0 from me, and he can go back to Chelsea and keep collecting 250 grand a week or whatever he's on.
I'll give him a 1 just for effort. But he goes back to me. I think it's a terrible. It was a terrible decision. Even they do acknowledge that we didn't really want him here, but unfortunately,
in hindsight, it didn't work, did it? It's as simple
I
as
hope
that,
we don't
really.
have another situation like this at the end of the window where we're having to desperately search around for.
Well, hopefully that'll be the lesson learned.
Well, it has, definitely. It was such a waste. Okay, moving on. Gabriel Jesus. Oh, this is such a sad one, actually.
Yeah, I'd probably go a 5 for Jesus.
I'd give him a 6. Do you know why? Because for the period he was there, he looked like coming back to something of the Gabriel Jesus who played for us. He started to be in the box a bit more, was getting goals. That Crystal Palace game, he was unplayable.
Yeah, he done well, but for the availability we got out of him, I just can't give him more than a 5, to be honest. I mean, what did he make it to double figures for appearances?
No, he made 6 appearances and then got injured, didn't he?
Yeah, so for me, mate, it's like you said, when he did play in those games, particularly the Palace ones, he looked good. It was nice to see him getting some goals because you don't want to see players struggling, and he needed that. He needed that for his confidence.
Here's a question for you, Joe. Here's a in your heart of hearts, he's had 2 ACLs on both legs. I have a worry that when you've had that kind of double ACL, I don't think you come back from that to a Premier League standard.
No, I mean the only thing that he's got going in his favour that he's not going to have lost pace because he was never particularly quick anyway.
But he was quick over a yard in terms of his micro movement.
This is where he will, I think, struggle, is in the movement and the ability to turn quickly and those sharp, dynamic movements that he's able to make. I don't want to write him off, but it's going to be very difficult for him to come back to be anywhere near the level of player that he was, which is a real shame. I really, really hope that I'm proved wrong. And I'm sure that all Arsenal fans would love him to come back and be able to rediscover the form of when he first joined. But for me, I think unfortunately he's done, Yem. And I do think that it might be January. We might have to wait till next year, but I think he will go.
I think he will. I think his contract expires actually pretty soon, doesn't it?
I think he's done, mate.
It's a sad one because the player he came to us as was unplayable at points.
Yeah,
the injuries
was game changing for us, wasn't he? He sent us to another level along with Zinchenko.
He literally could have destroyed the Premier League on his own if he had stayed with that form. But unfortunately, injuries have got the better of him. I would agree with you, Joe. I think he's a 5. It's a 6 just because he was having a good period for me. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, he's a drain on wages. He's on high wages as well, 265-ish. And he won't be available for a year. And then is he going to be a level? I don't think so. So I would sell reluctant, in January or whenever he's fit.
Yeah.
Bukayo Saka. And I'm trying to order this in terms of how many games they've played through, in terms of minutes and all this. This is another sad one, actually, because he was on course to have an amazing season. And then it caught up to him, didn't it? We all knew it was coming. We knew this was coming because the boy had been played into the ground and it was coming. And it unfortunately came to bear, didn't it? He got a hamstring injury.
Unfortunately, when you're seeing Saka involved in Carabao Cup games, I don't understand it, to be honest. I know Mikel's big on. He's got, because he came out with the interview, didn't he? And he said best players in the world, they play all the games, but we ask a lot of our wingers. There's a lot of work.
We probably have the hardest working wingers in the league, don't we? In terms of
I wouldn't go against you, Matt. And along with that, the treatment that Saka gets, because he's almost unstoppable. So defenders know the only way to stop him is to foul him. And when you're getting kicked as regularly as he does, and you're being asked to produce the final third magic for us, if you like, so often, and then to add on top of that the work rate that Mikel would demand from him, it's going to catch up with him. So we need to manage his minutes better. Pre that injury, mate, he was on Mo Salah levels of performance, and I think he would have I think he would have gone with Mo Salah all the way in terms of numbers if he had stayed fit this season. Pre-injury for me, you're looking at an 8 or a 9 because he was outstanding. He done brilliantly when he came back in the Madrid game. Obviously scored at the Bernabeu.
Big game. I mean, he missed a penalty and then made up for it by scoring. I mean, that's character.
Yeah, we've seen that with the England penalty missed. The way he responded from that to then go, okay, well, I'll be Arsenal's penalty taker, and I'll just smash the ball in the back of the net more often than not. Which he's brilliant.
He tried to be clever on this one.
Yeah, but it shows the level of player he is, that he's willing to try that, and he missed it and goes, okay, don't worry, I'll in the second half, I'll just turn it on and I'll go and score your winner. Don't worry.
But he clearly had fitness issues when he came back, didn't he? He didn't look.
Yeah, second half of the season, he wasn't 100% fit, was he? I think he struggled a bit through the end of the season.
And he acknowledged, I think he, in the recent England conference, he said that the reporter asked him, "You ready to go on holiday?" "Yes, definitely." That kind of tone where you just say, "Yes."
Yeah, I think if anyone deserves a holiday, it probably is Bukayo Saka. But yeah, pre-injury 8 or 9, post-injury probably a 7 or 8.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But he's a keep for me.
Yeah,
he hopefully signs a new deal. He is probably one of the best right wingers in the world. Mo Salah is undoubtedly, but Mo Salah's 33. Bukayo Saka is 23. There's no thing. He's absolutely integral to Arsenal. We're looking for a backup for him. We're not looking for someone to replace him. So there's a difference. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on. Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli is something of a puzzle for me because there is clearly a good player in there. He has got 16 goals before in a previous season. I think the role he's being asked to do by Mikel is not what he's good at. He's being asked to be a touchline winger, and he's really an inside forward, to be honest. Balls over the top. When he's played that way, he looks unbelievable because his pace and his finishing get him where he is. Again, he's been injured for a bit of the season. He's still a good player. This whole debate at the moment of we need a left winger. Yeah, we do. But I don't want to get rid of Gabriel Martinelli because he's such a weapon. But he hasn't had the greatest season. So for me, he's probably a 6.5.
Yeah, I was umming on between 6 and a 7. So 6.5, I'll agree, mate. He's just so frustrating, isn't he, as a player? Because he's got so much ability. He's got so much pace. We've seen him finish so well. And there's just moments when, I sit in the East Stand at the Emirates, and the amount of times that obviously Martinelli is in front of me, so we get quite a good view of him. And so often he runs down the line and he sort of does this weird thing where he just taps the ball between his left and right feet and hops along and ends up just running off the pitch.
I don't think, but he's not a touchline winger, is he? He's not a dribbler,
no, but he's better than that, isn't he? I expect more. Do you know what I mean? He's even.
Do we play to his strengths? Do we play to his strengths? I don't think we do.
No, we don't at all. But essentially, with how teams defend against us at the Emirates, which is more often not 10 men behind the ball.
Yeah.
Gabby, he doesn't have the space that he likes to operate in during the home games. I think we've seen the best of him away from home. I think his best performances are when teams come onto us and he is then given that bit of space to move in.
The away game in Madrid, he was unbelievable at points. Yeah. I thought he was
because they came onto us, and it allowed us space and he had room to operate. They didn't double up on him.
And he deserved the goal, didn't he? He deserved his goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was really, again, a really good finish. But how many times have we seen him in similar positions this year run through and just hit the keeper?
Yeah.
So he's a frustrating player, but he's got so much ability and so much. Seems weird to say because he's been around for a while, but he's still got so much potential to go up the levels even more, I think.
I think we just need to platform him again properly. There's a lot of players, and I know you can't accommodate all of them, but I can't fathom why we're trying to think about getting rid of a player with that much time on his hands, pace and ability. It just doesn't seem right. And obviously, we're going to talk about the contender for that in the other, in that position. But for me, I'd keep him. I mean, what would you do?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm keeping him. I've got no interest in letting him go. I mean,
unless it was a spectacular offer. If it was a really good offer.
Yeah, I mean, if Saudi come in and throw a stupid amount of money at us, then, I mean, it's only a handful of the players in this squad who I wouldn't be willing to entertain that sort of money for. But I think he can be our first choice winger, but he needs to be more consistent. And I think if we are going to get rid of anyone, I think we'll probably come on to him. I'd be more willing to get rid of Trossard, and then Martinelli becomes the backup winger.
Yeah.
And then we bring someone in, but
because he offers more variation, I think, than Trossard does.
And I think Martinelli can do a job in the 9 as well if we need him to.
I think so as well. I thought he did well when he came from the inside into the centre, better than Trossard does, because I think he just offers more in behind defences. So yeah, I would keep him as well. So let's move on. Let's talk about Trossard. Durability, certainly, he's been had a lot of games this season. I wouldn't say he's had an amazing season. He was a very clutch player for a couple of years when we bought him. I didn't see that much from him this season that I was like, wow, it's amazing. He's been so good. He's had moments and he got some good goals, but again, I don't see the value in this whole we're going to uprate his pay. I don't think he's been spectacular. I don't think he's contributed, but I'm very meh on him. He's a very average member of the squad for me, and I don't see the value in renewing his, uprating his contract. I know it's just a salary uprate, which I think may be a little bit fair because he's on quite a low wage. But for me, as you just said, Joe, if we're talking about getting rid of a winger, to me, Trossard is the better candidate to go. I just don't think he's not a winger. He's not a winger, but he's an inside forward again. He's someone who thrives in the little half space between the centre forward and the wing, and I just don't see it. I would, for me personally, I've rated him a 7 on the season, but I would sell. I'd happily sell it.
I'd agree, mate. I'd give him a 7. I think he contributed, didn't he?
He contributed.
He contributed. He got some goals, and he did what I would want a sort of a backup player to do. But considering, I think he had 28 starts in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's been very available this season, isn't it?
So for me, I think we've used him too much. Obviously,
he
again, I
hasn't
appreciate
delivered that much, has he? In games, I mean, obviously got sent off against City as well for kicking the ball away.
I think we've just considering I think most Arsenal fans would see him as a rotation option.
Yeah.
To then have him start in 28 Premier League games, that's not a rotation option. That's almost your first choice.
Yeah. Which it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been in any.
Which is too much for him. So again, agree with you, mate. I would definitely sell Trossard. Been a good player for us.
Oh no, he's.
I don't think anyone could say
for 30 million. Actually, it's a pretty good buy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's come in. He's done a good job for us for a good few seasons. But I think we've got to a point now where if we want to go and win a big competition or multiple competitions, we need to move on from Trossard and Martinelli and go up a level.
Yeah, I agree. Last on the forward list, Kai Havertz. Yeah, I think we felt the pain when he got injured. I don't think people realise how good a player he is. He is not a striker, as you said, Joe. I don't think he's a striker in any shape or form. I think he's almost a second striker to me, he feels like. But he's so fit, he's so good physically, and this is before he bulked up and became like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But he's so clever in his movement. He's a clever player. Got a good number of goals this season. I think before the injury, he was on course to get at least 15 or 20 if he'd stayed. I think overused again. I think another one has been overused. But I think he's a really good player. I like him. I think he's definitely improved since he came to us from Chelsea. He was a vital piece, and it'll be interesting to see how Mikel uses him in the next season, considering we are looking obviously at a striker, because I think he's still a valuable piece, but I think he looks better as a second striker. So for me, I'd rate him a 7.5. I'd definitely keep him.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Definitely keep him. I went with an 8 for Havertz. I think he still finished our top scorer in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Which I don't know whether that's a compliment to him or that's more of a slight on the rest of the team. I mean, I think he only got, was it 9 maybe?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, he performs brilliantly. Not a centre forward, but does a job for us. Was playing really well, I think, this season, in all aspects of the game, both attacking wise and offering what he does in terms of defensively, the press.
He covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, like it was inevitable that he was going to break. I mean, the Wolves.
It was the game before, wasn't it? It was
the Wolves away game just collapsed. At that point, you knew he was done.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, a few days later, he goes down with a hamstring injury.
The Dubai debacle.
Yeah. But no, he, I think next year, mate, I think he will be the ultimate Swiss Army knife for this team. I can see him being deployed as a rotation option in terms of centre forward. I could see him being deployed at some point in a wide position. I could see him being deployed as a left 8. I could see him coming in for Martin Odegaard at some point.
Yeah, I think in a 4-4-2, actually, he worked very well, actually.
He's a very, very good player, and he can play multiple positions well. And I think next year, if we take the burden off of him by putting a proper centre forward in there, I think he could flourish, because I think he suffers a little bit under the pressure of having to be the goal scorer.
Yeah, because his ball striking is not amazing. Look, we all know
it's not,
that.
Is it? No.
But he's such a clever player to create space. He feels like almost like a Dennis Bergkamp type player in terms of he's a facilitator better than an out-and-out goal scorer. To me, he creates space and movement by pulling apart defenses. So for me, he's a keep definitely, because he's such a good player. But overuse again, another one who's been overused, and we keep coming back to that theme during this review. So. Okay, we're going to go on to the loan players. So we're going to rattle through these really quickly because these should be quite easy, most of them.
Let's fly through them.
Okay, Karl Hein.
Well, if we're getting Kepa, Karl Hein could stay as a number 3. If he doesn't want to, I would sell.
I'd sell, because Tommy Setford probably would be the number 3 for the season. Nuno Tavares has already gone. Absolutely bonkers, completely bonkers. But, apparently we've got a 40% release selling clause for the next one, because they're going to Lazio will sell him straight away.
Yeah, good deal. Happy with that.
Yeah. Fabio Vieira is off to the Club World Cup. This one is a bit of a hard one for Arsenal fans, because there is a player there, but will he make it in the Premier League?
It's that Portuguese league tax, isn't it, that comes with Fabio Vieira, unfortunately.
This is the worry.
Yeah,
I saw it yesterday that it's worse than the Championship.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Well, for me, I think with the noise that's being made around Max Dowman, I think Fabio Vieira's time is up, and I think he will be sold. I'd be amazed if he's still here after the summer transfer window.
I forgot one player, and after you just talked about Max Dowman, I completely forgot about one player.
I thought you was going to dedicate the whole end of the show to Ethan.
No, we'll talk to him after. So, for me, I'd sell Fabio Vieira.
Yeah, I'd do the same.
So, sorry, this is my mistake. We're going to come back to it. Ethan Nwaneri. I think Ethan has had an outstanding season. I think there's a lot of pressure on him because, obviously, of what we've seen. And this whole comparison with Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is a freak athlete. I think Mikel's managed him particularly well. And I think he had a burst onto the scene, did really well. But physically, you could tell he was starting to struggle a little bit. And I think it was right that he was pulled out. He's a kid. This is what people don't realise, that these are people, young men who are going to grow. Don't judge it on, he's 17 and he can't handle a season. No, has had a fabulous season, improved massively, and I think he'll be a fabulous player for us going forward. I gave him an 8.
Yeah, I'd agree with an 8, mate. Breakthrough season for him. Done really well. I think the last sort of third of the season, if you like, passed him by a little bit, just through not being used, but gave us some really exciting moments. Really exciting player for the future.
There's a lot of pressure on him, isn't there? Endowment as well, which is unnecessary.
Yeah, there is, but do you know what I think? I think Ethan suffered a little bit because of Miles Lewis-Skelly. When Ethan was in the side prior to Lewis-Skelly coming in, we was all, what a season he's having, he's brilliant. And as soon as Lewis-Skelly came into the side and started doing what he was doing, it almost felt like, okay, why is Ethan not at that level? And but he still had a fantastic season. So he suffered a little bit because of that. But I think next year, what I want to see from him is him nail down a position. Whether he plays the Odegaard role, whether he plays back up to Saka, whatever it is, I want to see him.
More consistency, that he plays a lot more games, but he's more of an influence. I think that if he wants to play that Odegaard role, I think in some games he got lost in that role.
I agree, yeah.
I think he got lost when he seemed to pass him by. I think he was better on the wing. And I think he needs just to exert himself a little bit more and position himself better. Martin Odegaard does well taking balls on the half turn and knowing where to go straight away. I think Ethan needs just to work on that a little bit more, but that's minor things for him.
Yeah, he's dipped his toe in. He knows what to expect next year now. So I think next year we could see
he'll grow as well.
Even more from him.
Physically, he'll grow as well. So
yeah, of course.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. Right, going back to the loanees, Sambi Lokonga.
Sell,
yeah. Reece Nelson, such a sad one because again he got injured towards the end of his loan at Fulham,
and he's in Arsenal folklore for that Nottingham Forest moment,
and the Bournemouth.
Sorry, Bournemouth. That's what I'm thinking of. Sorry, the Bournemouth. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he gave us one of probably our favourite Emirates moments, I'd imagine. But I think, unfortunately, he would probably for me be a sell now.
Yep. And Marquinhos we've sold for 2.5 million. I was amazed we got money for him for that.
Yeah,
Berta doing big things. Come on, Andrea Berta, give me some more. Show me. I like the start already. 2.5 million.
Yeah. We never got to see the next Neymar, did we? But
the next Neymar. I don't know. Edu. This one must have been concocted by Edu on a sly with an agent somewhere because it was so bad.
Never really saw him, did we? But
no. Overall, it's been again we've done the season review, but this squad just feels like it has elements, but a lot of injuries have happened that have curtailed the squad, and it's good that we've got a rest period now to recharge properly. What do you think?
Do you want to give Mikel a rating for the season, Jem, seeing if he's done all the players?
Yeah, Mikel, I'd give a 7. I'd say he's been okay, but there's work to do. His in-game management is still pretty bad for me. I don't think he trusts his players enough, the reserve players. I think tactically in some games he's got it completely wrong. But he is a fabulous manager. There's some games that he's been absolutely unbelievable in. I wouldn't change it for the world. I don't see anyone in the world at the moment outside of Pep, etc., who would come in, who would change, who would do better for us in terms of the club. But there is work to do for him. But I will also say as well, the club needs to support him as well with the right players and players of value. You can't give him a Raheem Sterling and say, deal with it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the biggest thing for me is I want to see Mikel use an 18-man squad as opposed to what he does currently, which feels a bit like he uses a 13-man squad. There's only ever really a couple of players who come in off the bench. And then when we get injuries, we're down to 11. So
and he runs them into the ground, doesn't he? This is the problem.
Yeah, this is the thing. So hopefully I'm hoping this summer will address a lot of them issues because hopefully they'll bring in more quality, more players that Mikel will want. And then that way it'll give him more options to use and he'll feel more confident with the higher quality players that have been brought in. So, yeah, I'd go 7 as well. Fabulous manager. Super Mick Arteta. I wouldn't swap him for anyone currently. I think the project needs something to show for it sooner rather than later for him to just to quieten the noise because it is starting to grow. I appreciate.
That's fair, isn't it? But that's fair, isn't it? It's now
100%. I appreciate certain
years.
Sections of the fan base that are saying, "Look, it's been 5 years. We've got nothing to show for it." So no, I think those arguments they're perfectly legitimate arguments. But in my opinion, and just my personal take on it, is that I think Mikel will be the man to lead us to a trophy. And I'm hoping it'll be next season once this squad has the necessary improvements that we know it all needs.
Okay. Quickly, before we end the pod, who are your top 3 players of the season? Because obviously Arsenal have done theirs, and it came out as Declan Rice, player of the season. Second was, who was it?
Saka.
And then third was David Raya.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be
I disagree with that completely. I disagreed with this completely.
Yeah, so who's your number 3? Let's go 3, 2, 1. So your 3 is
Declan Rice.
I would go Raya for my 3.
Okay, your number 2?
Declan Rice.
I went with Timber.
Oh, no, okay. And then I think we might agree then number 1 for me would be Gabriel.
Gabriel. I don't understand how he wasn't even in the reckoning, because Saka was definitely not there.
No, I think Gabriel just suffered because his injury was at the end. If he'd been injured at the start of the season, then finished the season how we started. So if it flipped it, I think he would have been player of the season. Again, Declan Rice is a good example. Had a poor start because he finished well. I think that's why he won it. Yeah. So just goes to show you, I think if Gabriel had been injured at the start of the season and finished with the form that he showed prior to the injury, I think he would have walked away with it, to be honest. But he was absolutely sensational. So yeah, Gabriel for me, player of the season.
Fantastic. So we're aligned on our player of the season.
We are, mate.
We're very much aligned on the squad as well. I'd say our thoughts on the squad are pretty... I don't think there was any deviation really too much.
No, so. I think we was both pretty much in the same ballpark with all of them.
A lot of Arsenal fans are. I think I found it very strange that Bukayo Saka got into the player of the season when he had half the season pretty much.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, so again, we've now looked at the players of the season. It's now time for a bit of a break for the Arsenal squad. Get some rest. Take stock, get ready for pre-season in a couple of weeks. What is it? It's about 6 weeks or so? Is it 6-ish weeks?
Yeah, it's not far.
It's not far, but at least it's a break, isn't it? At least get, I'm going to I will watch the Club World Cup in bits. I don't think I'll be watching any of the lesser teams, to be honest. I don't think I want to.
You're a better man than I am, Yen, because I can categorically tell you now I will not spend 1 minute watching that.
It's football, isn't it? There's some football on. It's something to watch and laugh at other teams.
I'm still recharging. I can't invest in.
You're recharging currently for a different matter, and I won't go into that. But thank you, Joe, for again taking the time to have a discussion. Obviously, look back on our players and give us a review. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We really do appreciate it. We hope you like the show. We're trying to do our best. We're going to learn more as you give us some feedback. So do please give us feedback. We're going to be back hopefully soon when we'll start to talk about some transfers, because obviously we're getting into the silly season, and we'll hopefully have a few transfers to discuss. But again, thank you from all of us, and we'll see you again on the next one.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.